Get out of my house. Yeah, that's how my story starts, right there, standing in my own kitchen, back from 18 months in Afghanistan, boots still dusty, my heart pounding in my chest, and this woman, never seen her in my life, is making eggs in my dead grandmother's skillet. Her husband's on my couch. Their 2 kids freeze with forks halfway to their mouths at my table, like I'm the ghost here. I don't know what stunned me more, the smell of my morning coffee on the stove, or the fact that when I stammered, "Excuse me, what are you doing in my house?" She just looked up, stone cold, and said, "Sir, you need to leave. You're trespassing." That's right. According to her, I'm the intruder. And you know what she does? She pulls out a lease agreement, flapping the paper right in my face. We pay rent to Margaret Whitfield. We live here legally. That's when I heard the telltale crunch of heels outside, the kind of stiletto that's got no business in a real neighborhood, but it's everywhere on the courthouse steps. Margaret Whitfield herself, queen of the Homeowners Association, waltzes in, that white Lexus parked cocky in my driveway, purse slung over her arm, smile like she's auditioning for Real Housewives of Riverside County. "Jake, you're back early," she says, voice as fake sweet as Splenda. "Property abandonment requires proper HOA procedures, you know." Abandonment. I'd been deployed. Should have followed protocol, she sniffs. And right then, I don't know why, something inside me just clicks. Instead of breaking down or losing it or calling my old sergeant for bail money, I smiled. First time in months. Because Margaret Whitfield had no idea who she was messing with, and tomorrow, everyone in this neighborhood would know exactly what happens when you steal from the wrong soldier. You want to know what I did next? Stick around, because things got real interesting. And let me just ask, what would you do if some Karen stole your house while you served your country? So here's the story of Margaret Whitfield, the kind of woman who measures her grass with a ruler and clocks how long your Christmas lights stay up after New Year's. She's 52, drives a Lexus SUV that smells like desperation and vanilla air freshener, and she's been our HOA president for 6 years straight. Nobody else wants the job, first red flag right there. She acts like HGTV's main character, running her own home improvement dictatorship. Before she became Sunset Hills resident tyrant, she was a real estate agent, until the state yanked her license for what they called creative contract interpretations. In plain English, she lied about foundation cracks, hid water damage, skimmed off the top, you name it. Those heels? They got well worn on courthouse steps, trust me. But divorce didn't slow her down. She kept the biggest house in the neighborhood, a Mediterranean behemoth with more square footage than class, and that lifestyle didn't come cheap. Alimony checks stopped. Instagram-worthy brunches and designer bags needed funding. That's where I came in. I'm Jake Brennan, third-generation Army, foster care kid after my parents died in a car wreck. Grew up bouncing around until I could enlist at 18. Finally got a shot at building something of my own. My place. Modest. 3 bedrooms, 1-story ranch style. Every bit of it earned, every improvement from my own hands. Garage full of vintage motorcycles, oil, old tools. The kind of smell and sound that reminds you broken things can be beautiful again if you put in the work. So, January 2023, I get orders for Afghanistan. I do everything by the book. Set up automatic mortgage payments, utilities, HOA dues, even ask sweet old Mrs. Fiona next door. She bakes snickerdoodles for the whole block, to keep an eye out and grab my mail. I hit the January HOA meeting, tell the board in person about my deployment. Margaret sits there nodding, jotting notes, all sympathetic. Should have known, she was already sizing up her prey. 3 months in, my grass gets a little long. Not a jungle, just a little rough around the edges. Mrs. Fiona's doing her best, but my mower probably weighs more than she does. Margaret's response? Not to offer help. No, she slaps a violation notice on my door, sticky adhesive and all. When I don't respond, hard to answer when you're getting mortared in Kandahar, she cranks it up a notch. Digs up some obscure HOA bylaw about properties vacant over 90 days being managed for community benefit. My deployment notification? Poof. Vanished from the official minutes. Funny how that happens. By June, she's got my house on Craigslist, $2, $800 a month, installs a new family. The Rodriguez family, Maria, a nurse, smelling like hospital soap and exhaustion, Carlos, with a handshake that says honest work, twins Sophia and Diego, whose laughter should have filled a home of their own. Margaret spins them a story about foreclosure and abandonment, fake documents, whatever lies make it all seem legit. She pockets their deposits and first month's rent, over $8,000, while I'm ducking bullets for hazard pay. For 4 months, Margaret lives off my stolen house like a parasite feeding off my service. But here's the thing about deployments, they end. And some of us come home with more than 1,000-yard stare. The day I got back, I didn't storm in guns blazing. No, I walked straight into the HOA office, paperwork in hand, deployment orders, bank statements, 18 months of smothered anger. Margaret's office reeks of vanilla air freshener and fake Mexican vacation brochures. "Jake, what a surprise," she drawls, pretending she hasn't been expecting this day. I slide my papers across the desk. "Want to explain why strangers are living in my house?" She shuffles some papers, frowns like it's all Greek. "You failed to follow proper notification procedures. Property abandonment. Letters were sent. Receipts right here." She shows me a stack of fresh stamped mail, too crisp, dates not matching up, edges too clean. If there's one thing Afghanistan taught me, it's how to spot a forged document, fake postmarks, inconsistent ink, the works. "These are fake," I say. She just smiles, daring me to prove it. I can tell. She thinks I'm just another broken vet who'll back down, too tired to fight. Big mistake. 2 days later, I'm neck deep in county records, musty smell of old paper, dust in the air, coffee stains on half the files. My grandfather, he fought in Vietnam, used to say, "Son, the truth's always written down somewhere." He was right. No official abandonment paperwork. No rental income in HOA financials. That magical 90-day clause doesn't exist outside Margaret's imagination. Veterans Legal Aid sets me up with Sarah Rodriguez, a lawyer with a poker face and a mind like a steel trap. She lays my evidence out on her desk and says, "This isn't just fraud, Jake. This is document forgery, theft, violation of the Service Members Civil Relief Act. Federal prosecutors love cases this clean." That's when Margaret makes her first big misstep. Instead of backing off, she doubles down, starts harassing the Rodriguez family. Maria gets written up for excessive vehicle idling, warming up her car for a 6 a.m. shift. Carlos is cited for unauthorized mechanical work because he changes his own oil. She's trying to scare them out, eliminate witnesses. Then comes the neighborhood email, safety concerns in Sunset Hills. Margaret paints me as a loose cannon, unstable veteran, lurking around, documenting my own property. She attaches photos, me taking pictures of my house. Character assassination 101. What she doesn't count on is Mrs. Fiona. 70, quiet, sharp as a tack. She sees the smear campaign and forwards the email to every military family in our subdivision, adding, "This woman is lying about Jake. I saw everything." Next thing I know, my phone's blowing up, veterans from Maple Street, neighbors I'd never met, calling, texting. "We've got your back, brother." Margaret's control over the neighborhood? Gone overnight. So desperation time. 8 o'clock Thursday, she shows up at my door with a cashier's check for $5,000, smudged mascara, hands shaking. "Let's resolve this quietly," she whispers. I stare at the check. $5,000, half of what she stole. I hand it back. "Keep your blood money," I say. "I want it all back. Plus damages. Plus your resignation. Plus a public apology to the Rodriguez family." She looks like a mood ring in a blender, red, white, purple. Can't decide which lie to try next. "You'll regret this, Jake. I have resources." Her resources? A discount PI in a rusted Honda, snapping pictures of my house, probably watching too much CSI. Margaret's idea is to find dirt, bar fights, bad conduct, anything to paint me as the villain. She doesn't know my old squad leader, Tony, is in town. 3 tours in Iraq spotting amateur surveillance. We decide to give Margaret's PI a show. Tony buys zip ties, duct tape, plastic sheeting at Home Depot. Next thing you know, Margaret's detective calls the cops himself. Deputies roll up, expecting to find a crime scene. Instead, they find Tony installing my bathroom faucet, me organizing tools, the zip ties bundling cables, the plastic sheeting protecting my floors. Martinez, the deputy, tells Margaret, "Ma'am, hiring unlicensed investigators to stalk your neighbors? Filing false reports? That's criminal." Turns out her PI lost his license 3 years ago. Margaret just earned herself harassment charges. But she doesn't quit. Next week, she's back at it. Email blasts painting me as a dangerous veteran, accusing me of running paramilitary exercises, threatening the community. What she doesn't realize, neighborhoods changed. Tom Harrison, Marine from Maple, sets up a support network. Mrs. Fiona is now our unofficial intelligence chief. Margaret's slander campaign smashes against a wall of people who know better. Margaret's fatal error? Faking HOA meeting minutes, backdating board votes, inventing documentation. Problem is, Afghanistan taught me, paper trails don't lie, people do. Sarah subpoenas the original records, real ones buried in storage. There's nothing in them about property abandonment or rentals. Margaret's crimes: fraud, forgery, obstruction of justice. The full set. She thinks she's up against a lone soldier. Instead, she's awakened a hornet's nest of veterans, people who don't abandon their brothers, who know documentation is everything. And then she goes completely off the rails. 2:47 a.m., my phone pings. Security alert, motion in my garage. On the screen, I watch Margaret in yoga pants, sneaking in with a plastic bag, planting evidence behind my motorcycle lift, trying to frame me for drugs. I call 911 the second she leaves. Cops show up. Margaret, conveniently, arrives moments later, planning to discover the drugs. Instead, Officer Martinez plays back the footage of her breaking in and planting the Adderall herself. She gets arrested right there. Handcuffs, mascara running, neighbors watching. By sunrise, the video's on every neighborhood Facebook group, and memes spread faster than her vanilla air freshener. That's the twist, when the community finds their courage. Turns out, Margaret's been running scams for years, overcharging elderly residents, pocketing insurance claims, forging invoices. The DA calls a press conference. This is exactly the kind of predatory behavior we will prosecute to the fullest extent of federal law. Margaret's not just banned from the HOA. She's banned from her own kingdom. Her lawyer shows up at my door 3 days later, sweating through his suit. $25,000 settlement, plus fees, plus NDA. You stop cooperating with federal prosecutors. Sarah laughs out loud. Tell Margaret she can use the NDA as toilet paper in federal prison. Attempted bribery, another felony on the pile. Here's where the real lesson hits me. Digging through boxes in Sarah's office, I find a letter, Margaret, weeks before my deployment, asking the HOA's legal counsel about managing vacant homes. The reply: no authority, any such action is criminal. She knew. She planned this months ahead. While I was preparing to serve, she was plotting to steal my house. Insurance files show years of fake claims. Spreadsheets from her laptop list every military family, every vulnerable resident, as a target, with notes about their absences. I was livestock to her, a profit margin, not a neighbor. But karma's got its own timetable. The veterans rally. My garage becomes a command post: Tony, Mike, Carlos, Danny, tools, coffee, legal pads. We're all by the book, visiting friends, helping neighbors, fixing houses, walking dogs, barbecues that just happened to block Margaret's line of sight. Every move legal. Every move strategic. Margaret panics, new locks, security lights, cameras. She tries to flee at 3 a.m., but Deputy Martinez is waiting. She gets cuffed in her pajamas, suitcase half-packed. The FBI raids her house, finds $47,000 in cash, boxes of forged documents, invoices, years of scams. Her own lawyer quits. The local news tears her apart. Mrs. Fiona gives the quote of the year. These veterans didn't harass her, they caught her. And finally, justice. Federal charges, 15 years in prison, restitution to every victim, HOA board purged, new leadership, community reborn. We rename the park after the real heroes, never her. The restitution money builds a fund to help deployed service members everywhere. Laws change. Margaret's face is the new warning on every HOA fraud training slide. 6 months later, I'm back in my kitchen, new locks, fresh paint, laughter drifting in from the backyard where the Rodriguez kids play. Community's tighter than ever. Mrs. Fiona's secretary, Tom's president, I'm security coordinator. The sound of socket wrenches, barbecue, kids' laughter, real life, hard-earned. Margaret? She's sitting in prison, Googling appeals that'll never happen. Her Lexus sold off to pay for what she stole. Her name now a punchline for anyone who's ever suffered under HOA tyranny. And here's the real punchline. You want to play games with soldiers, think we're alone, weak, too busy fighting wars to protect our own homes? You'd better think again. Because when you steal from one of us, you take on all of us, and you're not just fighting a soldier, you're fighting a community that's got his six. So yeah, Margaret got her karma federal style. But let me ask you, where's the line between authority and abuse? At what point does community protection become organized exploitation? Ever seen a petty tyrant take their own fall? Or had to fight for your own justice when the system failed? Drop your stories in the comments. Let's hear about the Karens, the Margarets, the petty little dictators you've dealt with, and how you fought back. And if you want more stories where preparation beats intimidation, hit subscribe, because trust me, there are more Margarets out there, and every single one needs a reminder. Bullies only stay in power as long as people let them.